Let's go questions. Gabe.
Coach, how important is it to take full advantage of the bye, and what do you do to make sure that for this young team you do that?
No, it comes at a good time for us. These young guys, freshman football, it's a little bit different. They were here all summer, and a lot of them are playing. Really got a week off before we went to camp. So, I think in our discussion, it's something a little bit different for us. Everybody looks at the midway point of the season is midway point of the season. Well, it's not, because you got an extended fall camp now, almost 4 weeks. So the midpoint of the season for these guys was a couple weeks ago. And we've approached it that way. This comes at a good time for us to kind of gather our breath. We've got a lot going on with school, and these guys don't get to go home. For Thanksgiving we're playing, and so I think it's important not only for our physical health but our mental health that we utilize this week in the right way.
Down front, Brent.
Yes, it's philosophy week, but I know Coach Malzahn is answering questions over there. But is your business kind of weird or different in that if you do too well, then there's the idea that they say, okay, it could be the NFL or some other job, and if you don't do well enough, then there's the idea of, well, he might be gone. I mean, how do you handle that? How do you?
Do you know what you signed up for from the beginning? So, just like you control the narrative in your own space, and it really doesn't matter what people say. And I think moving from that topic to this team I think it's very obvious that the people in that building across the street in our locker room have a huge trust in what we do and what we talk to them about, more so than anything else, because they've proven that so far.
Second row, Ben.
Kevin, how do you feel you've grown as a coach in the last couple of years?
Haven't really thought about it. You don't have time to think. What is this? You guys are right. Was this write a book week? Come on, man. Every time we come in here, it's like football. What about this guy? I forgot it's the bye week.
That's it.
And we don't have anybody else to talk to this week because I gave them the week off. Maybe next week, this year, everybody will take bye week off. I don't know, Ben. I haven't really thought about that. I don't sit down and have a checklist every Monday about how much I've grown. This job is consuming enough because it's not about me. It's about a lot of people. It's about travel rosters. It's about recruiting. It's about health. It's about lives, parents. So the only time you have to reflect on that is maybe a couple weeks in the summer. And right now it's not a couple weeks in the summer. Right now we're in the middle of the football season.
Go to the very back to the right, Daryl. Down front, Travis.
In terms of reflection, looking back at the Florida game.
Oh, there we go.
I'm getting there. In terms of running the football, was that some issues that you guys had, or was that some things that Florida was doing, or is it a combination of both?
I think Florida's front is really good, and they've proven that all year. People haven't scored a lot of points on them, and so they've played close games. They've played to their strength. Their defense has been their strength in the last 3 years, and you'll see a bunch of those guys that are in that front 6, 7, just like the last time we played Florida. They're going to play on Sundays. So it's a little bit of both. I thought that we did enough at the end of the game to be effective and kind of grind the clock out. It was more of a Keith Ford game at the end. And, Keaton Sutherland, that situation really kind of threw a monkey wrench into things on Friday morning. And, when you get a phone call at midnight and you've got an appendicitis attack and he's got to go to surgery. For going on the road, and playing a bunch of those guys earlier in the year, and people asking why. Now you see why. And Carson Green came in, played a lot, did a nice job for the situation of, being on the road in silent count for an offensive tackle is maybe one of the most difficult things that you can ever have happen. In a place like the Swamp where, silent count means it's not audible. There's some timing things. There's some things where you've got to be able to peek. It's a passing down, and those ends are getting wider and wider in pass rush. For a young guy, that's probably one of the most difficult situations that you can face. So, we played a bunch of people, and we got out of there. It wasn't pretty. We didn't run the ball like we've run it a bunch this year. The second half we were better than the first half because we made some adjustments, which we've done this year. But, I think we can continue to get better there. I think Noel and Jim Turner understand each other. They understand the scheme and have made some adjustments at halftime that have helped us. Hadn't always been pretty, but it's been good enough. And I think we'll continue. And really this week gives us a chance also to look at some other things and maybe add a little bit more to the package.
Down front to the left, Travis, then Brent, then Ben.
Hey, Coach, I know earlier in the season you said that y'all sat Kellen down and looked at the play card and crossed some things off that he wasn't comfortable with. As he's gone through the season, have you seen some of those options open back up and seen him develop as far as grasping the system?
Yeah, I think he understands more now. Obviously, he understands more now than he did when we started the season. And, you don't run the same things every week, and the ability to be able to continue to add, that's part of football. And as you add, for him to be able to discuss it and work at it, and maybe it doesn't work this week, maybe he's not comfortable with it this week, but practice a couple more times over the next couple of weeks, and he gets comfortable with it. So, he's grown. I've said this before. I think it's a combination of things. You learn about each other, and it's like any relationship. As you're around a person long enough, they become comfortable with you. You become comfortable and more open with them, and you get a feel for them, particularly in stressful situations like we've been in. And so it's a combination of both.
Down front, Brent, then we'll go over to Chip, then to Ben.
I'm going to ask a two-parter while I'm holding this here. This is a good bye week question for you. I'm guessing you don't take the helicopter to homeschool games. So how does a guy like Austin Fry come about? I know he has A&M ties, in his family and things like that. But is that a camp deal? And also the job he's done. The second part of that, it's not really related. But
go ahead, run that back.
Austin Fry, the second part is
Yeah.
how nice is it to have Nick Starkel available, as Kellen's backup at this point? So Austin Fry and Nick Starkel.
We have a really comprehensive walk-on program. I think from within our school, where we have, truly the 12th man. We have tryouts here, and then we have another program that's out there where we're evaluating players, not just scholarship players, but guys who are maybe right on the edge. Some guys with offers to other. Just because you walked on here doesn't mean you didn't have offers at other major schools. Some guys want to come to Texas A&M. They'll give them that opportunity. So, and then there's camp. We have specifically, the large number of camps, but kicking and snapping camps and things like that, which give us the opportunity to evaluate guys. And I think because of our relationships across not the state but the country, and particular Jeff Banks and really at one time I was a special teams guy, coordinator. So and running those camps, you have eyes all over the country, and they get to know people, and so I think one of the things that Jeff has done has been able to evaluate all our specialists and coach them and get guys in here that maybe everybody's like, well, how did you find him? Where does a Josh Lambo come from? They don't just pop up. I just put it that way. So there's a method to the madness. Just about there's a lot of eyes out there. There's a lot of people who are specific to that field that are training guys, and the ability to have those relationships and know who they are, and in a state like this where, I mean, there's a lot of guys, and that we have. Our evaluation, Jeff's evaluation, has been pretty good. The next one.
Starkle.
Yeah. I mean, he's like I said, he's not 100%. He wasn't last week. I thought it was important that he was there. I thought it was important that he got a feel for that atmosphere, and got back in the mix of the travel instead of being a rah-rah guy, because he's been fabulous on the sideline. It's been fabulous with Kellen. But there's a whole nother situation when you put a helmet on, So until you wore a helmet, you really weren't one play away from playing. And so your mentality, I don't care what anybody says, your mentality changes. But, right now, it for him this weekend, I thought that was important. And so, for us moving forward, things haven't changed since last night.
To the left, Chip. Then
Meaning
Ben,
the radio show.
then-
Saying that he is the
Yeah.
backup.
all right, Chip.
Kevin, another question on special teams with LaCamera. I watched games this weekend, and coaches are passing up field goals from the 30, which would have been 45, 46-yard field goals, because they don't have confidence in their kicker. The way he's kicking right now, does that at all change what you want to do in the red zone, or take certain chances that maybe you wouldn't take if you know you're going to get 3 points?
No, I think what it does is early with the way we were playing football right now, which is not pretty, but it's effective because we're playing as a team. It's a field position game. We're controlling the clock more than we've ever controlled it. Our defense has played pretty good in the end of the games, and so all those things come into decision making, and it's not just and Daniel helps, but the fact that as we talk to the quarterbacks and anybody who touches the ball, to know that basically our message is once you cross the 33-yard line, we're protecting 3 points, philosophically, as a player. So the ball becomes more important than yards at that point, or chance taking. And that's been our message to our guys. It's been our message to a young quarterback. So, that decision-making process is not just about one guy. It's about how we're playing right now. And some people, agree with it or not, but it's given us our best chance to be successful, and Daniel knows that, and he's embraced that. I think he if he's healthy at UCLA, maybe it's different, but he wasn't, and I think he's bounced back from that, and he can't do anything about that. That's our message. You can't do anything about what happened, but what you can do is do something about what's coming up, and he's done that.
Second row, Ben. Then to the back left.
Going back to that question from earlier, so if you take a time in the summer to look at how you've grown or how things have gone for you personally, did you do that this summer at all? And if so, what was that experience like? So earlier I had asked about if you had grown as a coach, or if you thought you'd grown in the last couple of years. Did you reflect during the summer when you had some downtime on that at all? And what was that process like?
It's called vacation. So, I mean, when I'm with my, I really don't. I mean, what you do is, which is probably not different than many people professionally. You're always looking at, how you can get better. You're talking to friends, you're talking to colleagues, You're talking to CEOs. You're talking to people who face maybe a lot of the similar challenges you have in running a large business, dealing with media, dealing with stress. See how I snuck that in there? Dealing with all kinds of stuff. And so it depends on, who that is. And it's not just coaches, and it's not just football coaches. Some of the guys I talk to are college basketball guys and pro basketball guys. And there's a lot of things that you do that you try to get better. And X's and O's are part of that, but that's a different part of the year. In the spring, you're out doing that with different staffs. But the other part of it is leadership, people in those roles that you're either friends with, you like to meet, and discuss things and just how to get better.
Back left, then Gabe.
Obviously, the bye week is very important, and your veteran players understand the importance of it. What was your maybe message to Kellen, him being a freshman, of how to fully take advantage of this, and maybe any specific things to work on, for his first, college bye week?
The message was take a deep breath, and because he hadn't been able to do that over the last 5 weeks. So I think right now, the message for us is that, it's not just about, as I said earlier, it's not just about physical health, it's about mental health. And particularly for young guys who have midterm exams, dealing with a lot of different things, and playing, in a tough league and in a situation where, 6 months ago they were going to the prom, or they were playing high school football a year ago. So it's a combination of those two messages for everybody who's involved, because we're playing, I don't know, you gave me the deal yesterday, we were averaging how many guys a week? 57 guys a week. So there's a lot of guys that have high stress levels, particularly as freshmen, because the same issues that Kellen has from a stress level, so does Derek Tucker. Because the ball gets over his head, it's a touchdown. So does Renfro, who's covering guys man to man, and he can't fall down or it's a touchdown. And so every play is important. And those are just a couple of guys, that are freshmen that are battling the same thing. So it's a physical and mental health break, which these guys need right now.
We'll go Gabe, Zach, and Brett. You'll wrap us up.
Kevin, how would you quantify the level of production you're seeing from all phases of your front seven, ends, tackles, linebackers?
I think it's been, it's there's no doubt it's been an improvement. And I think we've gotten better and we can get better. There's no doubt that the rotational depth has helped us in the front. I think you saw Michael Clemens finally, he's been nursing an ankle for a while, but he was healthy as he's ever been. And, that rotation on the edge with Jarrett, and I mean, those guys have helped, but the interior guys have been the difference. And I don't think I'm saying anything that nobody has seen. Kingsley Kiki has gone 3 straight weeks of, excuse me, really high-level football. And so has Zakoven Henderson. And in the ability to get those guys off the field, I think they played, they wanted to play, though. And it's a different type game. You're playing close to 50 snaps with those guys, but they're not playing them 10 plays at a time. Does that make sense? And then the rotation, you got to feel good about Justin coming in there, and Dalen. Dalen's been playing well the last couple weeks, and that gets Zakoven off the field. So we got to get Peavy in there even more, because he only played 5 or 6 plays, but his production is ridiculous when he's in the game. He's a guy that's big, You know, he makes tackles. He knows what he's doing. He's a freshman, and so we got 5 guys in there right now that are holding their own and then some in this league, and that's saying a little bit. And then the pressure off the edge has helped. Obviously, OT is a better will linebacker, is more comfortable at will. I'll put it that way than he was at Mike, and Anthony Hines continues to get better every week, and that gets OT off the field a little bit, or we can move OT to Mike and keep Anthony in there and get Terrell off the field. So, that whole process right there interiorly is you've got some good players, but you also have some depth, and not a fall off in the depth, and that's why I think it's been so productive.
To the left of Zach, and then Brent, you'll wrap us up.
Coach, you talked about some of those young guys in the secondary. I just wanted to ask, because I think there was a time, I guess against Florida, where it was pretty much the entire secondary was freshmen and young guys. Where have you seen their progression so far this season? Where do you feel like they're at? And also, is there anything that you can share with us about Donovan and his progression back from injury?
All those young guys didn't come here to stand next to me on the sideline. So they're talented. Most of them are fit the profile of our guys. They're longer guys. They can run. They go through their ups and downs just like Armani did when he was a freshman. So, they like to play, and they're talented. So, Derek Tucker continues to get better back there. Continues to see things. You get a little concerned when you got them all out there. We've been playing these guys the whole year. It wasn't until Armani got hurt that we always had an older guy out there with him. Does that make sense? It's safety. So whatever that situation was, whether it was Carper or Tucker or any of these guys that were playing back there, we always had an older player back there at safeties. But injuries happen. Armani gets nicked up a little bit, so they're both out there, and that it helped that they were comfortable, because in that environment it's not time to learn anything. They haven't been perfect, but they're playing as hard as anybody, and it's been just like Kellen. They every snap's a learning experience because they're playing against good players. They're getting schemed. The thing is, when you put something on tape in this league, they're going to try it to see if you got it fixed, whether that's a scheme or whether it's you as a player. And they understand that. They didn't understand that early. Some things they might have gotten away with in high school, but I think after the first 3 games, and they keep saying the same thing until you get it fixed, they're going to keep doing it. But that's part of the learning experience.
The second part was Donovan Wilson.
Yeah, we'll see where he is. We'll see.
All right. Down front, Brent, you wrap us up.
Thankfully, wrapping up Philosophy Week here. You mentioned you seek advice on dealing with stress. What is the best way you deal with stress? And I would imagine that also involves family as well.
Well, it's you got a lot of different things. You got time away. You got working out here. You got all kinds of different things. You got travel. Right now is not that time. So as much time as you can get with your kids and watch them do things, and be around that. And then, fortunately, my family likes to travel a lot and get away to places where they don't say, "Hey, coach," when you walk through the door. It's okay. That changes things too. And it changes things for your family. And that when you have to stop and do things that instead of be with them. So that's a big part of it.
All right, Coach.
Where do they not say, "Hey, coach"?
If I told you that, then I can't go there. Although I was in a place which I didn't think would ever happen, and as soon as I got off of it took 18 hours to get there. I just put it that way, And we got through upstairs, walked downstairs, came through the door at the bottom of the baggage claim, and right when I walked through the door, hey, Coach, can I get a picture? So we went 18 hours for that. I could have gone to Navasota and got the same thing.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks.